everyone and welcome to my craft room. I'm Leo from inkymemories.co.uk, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in South Wales. And today on this Simple Saturday Stamping project, we're going to be using the Happiest of Birthdays stamp set and a couple of paper products and punches to make a really awesome gift for someone that you know. So first of all, because this is a Simple Saturday project, I do have all of the pieces pre-cut and ready to go. So we have here a base in Magenta Madness, and this measures 15 centimeters by 16.5 centimeters. I then have another piece of cardstock. This is in Blackberry Bliss, and this is 14.5 by 7.5 centimeters. I have a piece of the Rainbow Glimmer paper. This one measures 15 centimeters by 3.8 centimeters, and the colours in this are what I've used for the inspiration for the colour palette for today's project. I then have a piece for our sentiment. This is in Flirty Flamingo, and this is 8 centimeters by 5 centimeters. And then finally I have two tabs. Again, these are in Flirty Flamingo. And these are 2.5 by 5 centimeters. And like I said, today we're going to be using the stamp set Happiest of Birthdays and a couple of different punches. So we have the Lovely Labels Picker Punch, the Timeless Label Punch I want to say, and the Triple Banner Punch that we're going to be using to create our project. So the first thing that we need to do is a little bit of scoring on the cardstock that we have here. So I'm going to bring in my stamping trimmer, and for this we're going to be scoring, so we're going to be using the pale grey side today. And I'm going to start first of all with this piece in Magenta Madness, and this is the base for our project. Now what we want to do on this is score at 0.5 centimetre on two sides, and they need to be two sides that are touching. So I'm just going to do that one first of all. Just run the scoring blade a couple of times through there, and I'm going to do this again. Now you might notice that I'm doing it on this side of the trimmer here today. So obviously you have your numbers going up this side, but they do also go this way, and especially when you are using, when you're cutting or scoring in small measurements, doing it on this side can actually be a little bit easier because you have a lot more sort of room up here to butt your paper up against. So I'm just taking this to the 0.5 centimetre mark, popping the guard into place, and then running my scoring blade up and down that to get a nice even score. And then we need to score this at 8 centimetres. So let me just pop this on here. Just make sure I am doing this the right way around as well. So let's see, this is the long side. Yeah, that's right. So 8 centimetres, there we go. And run the scoring blade up there. And that is our piece ready to go. Before I put the trimmer away, we also need to score our two tabs. And these need to be scored at 2.5. So I'm just going to pop this over here. And this goes right across the middle, so you can use either side. It should hit 2.5 on each side since these are 5 centimeters long. And I'll do the second one as well. Okay, and that is our scoring done. So I'm going to pop my trimmer out of the way. And we shall then move to getting the base ready. So I'm going to take a pair of scissors, not my ribbon scissors for this, just a regular pair of scissors. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut straight across where this sort of tab meets here. So right through the cross over both sides, just like that. I'm also going to cut a tab on this side, just up to the score line, so that makes then a nice tab that we can fold down. I'm going to cut a tab into this score line here, where it meets in the middle, and then I'm going to cut this piece off entirely. So you should be left with a piece that looks like this. So you have one tab down the side and one tab across the bottom, and then your piece scored in half up the middle. So we're going to get this put together first of all, so it can be drying while we're doing other stuff. So fold on all of your score lines and burnish them nicely. Open up and do the same for your tabs, and just be careful folding these over, because they are so thin. Just make sure that you are definitely folding on the actual score line itself, and not actually in the cardstock. You just need to encourage it ever so slightly to get it started. Okay, and I'm going to use some liquid glue to stick this together. So what I'm going to do is just run a thin bead of glue along both tabs. And in order to sort of control where this glue goes, I'm actually just going to spread this ever so slightly across the tab so that I'm in charge of where the glue ends up and it doesn't sort of squidge out by itself. And then all you need to do is literally just fold this in half and make sure the tabs go in. And then just hold it in place while the glue bonds. Should only take a few moments for that to get a good grip. And then we're just going to pop that to one side for the glue to dry while we move on. So I'm going to bring in the 2 tabs in Flirty Flamingo that I have, and the Lovely Labels Pick Punch. We're going to be using the squarer side on this, and because these are quite short, this can be a little bit fiddly to do. So what I'm going to recommend that you do with this is feed the cardstock in and then flip the punch over and hold it sort of upright and allow the cardstock just to fall down so that it hits the channel at the very bottom. As always, just make sure when you're using this punch that the cardstock is nicely lined up across the sort of punching surface, especially because it isn't being held in the channel on the other side. And once you are happy with where it's positioned, punch and then drop the cardstock out and do the same on this other side. So first of all, feed it into the channel. And then holding the punch upright so the cardstock just falls down onto that sort of plate at the bottom. Manipulate the cardstock into place if you need to, using a poking tool or your take a pick tool. And then punch. And there is the first of our tabs. And I'm going to repeat that then on the second one. Okay, and there are our 2 tabs punched and ready to go. So next up I'm going to get the sentiment stamped, and I'm going to be using Magenta Madness ink for this. And the stamp that I have chosen is Happy Little Bit Late Birthday, but I'm not planning on sending this gift late, so I'm actually going to modify the sentiment. So flipping my stamp over, I've got here a piece or a roll of washi tape, and all I'm going to do is cover the middle part of the sentiment on the stamp with the washi tape and just sort of pinch it around the edge of the stamp just to make sure that it is all nicely covered on there. Then all you need to do is just ink your stamp as normal, so just nice light taps on the surface of your ink pad just to get a nice even coverage of ink on there, and you can see the washi tape is covering the center part of the stamp and stopping that from getting inked up. You then peel off your washi tape and very carefully dispose of that so you don't get covered in ink, and then you stamp your sentiment as normal. So I'm just lining up the piece of cardstock on my grid paper, looking over the top of it to make sure that I've got my sentiment stamp nicely lined up over my piece of cardstock, and then just press straight down. Apply some nice even pressure over that, and then lift it up, and there is our stamped sentiment without the centre part in there. And while I have the ink open, I'm going to do a little bit of stamping onto our base that has now dried up nicely. And what I've done, I've actually pulled in the Ridiculously Awesome stamp set just because I want to use this little star. But any stamp set that has sort of little mini decoration type stamps would work also for this. And all I'm going to do is just stamp a few of these stars over this base. Mostly around the edges. We are going to be covering the centre with the sentiment that we've stamped and the glimmer paper. There we go. I think that should do. Okay, let's close up the ink and we can continue assembling. So the next thing I'm going to do is punch out our glimmer paper, and for this I'm using the triple banner punch, and I've cut this to size so that it fits the middle channel. So you have 3 channels in this punch. The widest one is 2 inches, the centre is 1.5 inches, and the middle is 1 inch. I'm using the middle one, which is 1.5 inches or 3.8 centimetres. I'm just going to feed this in and punch. There we go, pop those out of the way. I'm really enjoying using this glimmer paper. It's so fun and bright, and I like using the different sort of combinations of colours that it inspires. Like I said, the colour palette for this entire project has all come from here. So the darkest colour is Blackberry Bliss. It then goes through Magenta Madness. I would say this was Flirty Flamingo in the middle. But then also goes on to Mango Melody. So you could also pull in some yellow into this project as well if you wanted to. And of course this is only 1/2 of the gradient in the rainbow paper. There is also a sort of more greeny blue side to the gradient as well. And you could absolutely use that. So just with some liquid glue again, I'm literally just going to stick the glimmer paper to our base here. Make sure it is nice and centered, both side to side and top to bottom on the base. And then let that just set up. And I'm going to bring in the Timeless Label punch. And again, any round punch would do at this point. It doesn't necessarily have to be this one. All we're doing is cutting a notch on this side of the base here. So I'm just going to feed this into the punch ever so slightly. So I'm just using this sort of rounded side of this particular punch, just to cut that little notch that I need. And I'm going to use the glimmer paper that I've put on to help me get this centered. Okay, and then just punch that. And there is our little finger notch in there. Okay, so we've got our pieces pretty much assembled and ready to go now. And it's time to get a little bit of decoration on. So I need to bring in some ribbon for this. I've pulled 2 ribbons out. So I have, first of all, the In Colour ribbon in Magenta Madness to go with the base. And then from the Playing with Patterns ribbon combo pack, I've pulled in this one in Night of Navy, just as a nice contrasting colour. And all I want to do is just grab a little piece of both of these. We don't need a huge amount of ribbon for this. So just a little snip from both of those. I'm going to make this into a little sort of pull tab for the inner part of our gift card wallet. So putting the 2 ribbons together, you can put them inside of each other or around the outside of each other. You can just lay one on top of the other, however you would like this to look on your project. I think I'm going to do it like that, and then I'll trim it up a bit in a moment. So once you've got your ribbon, you then want to take one of your tabs and just fold it in half and pop it over the end of your inner mat. pop your ribbon behind it, and then I just have here a small craft stapler, but a standard sort of desk stapler would also work for this. And you literally just want to staple through the tab and the two ribbons to hold that in place, just like so. And then we're just going to pop the other tab on the other end, nicely centered again, and then also just staple that into place, like so. And now we can fiddle with the ribbons a little bit and get them how we want them to be. So I'm going to take off some of the navy one and bring the magenta one down ever so slightly. Bring this one down a little bit more. And then take the navy one just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Next up then, I'm going to pop a little bit of ribbon on here to go behind our sentiment piece, and I'm just going to use the Magenta Madness ribbon for this one. I'm going to bring in some Stamping Seal Plus as my adhesive, and literally just across the centre of the glimmer paper, run a little piece of that adhesive. Don't need a huge amount on here, it's literally just to hold the ribbon in place for us. So you should be able to see just across the centre here, I've got a strip of that adhesive. And then wind your ribbon across in a loop, making sure you anchor it into the adhesive. So there's our first loop, and again, and then trim that once you're done. And just test how that looks. If you need to sort of adjust it slightly, then do. I think I'm happy with that one. Okay. And then I'm going to put some dimensionals onto the back of our sentiment piece to mount it onto the card. As always, when using dimensionals, just make sure that you do pull them in ever so slightly from the edge. Don't put them too close to the outside. You don't want them to be visible or poking out around the edge of your project. Make sure they're on nice and firmly, and then pull off the backs. And then pop your sentiment piece over the ribbon and the glimmer paper. So again, it should be centered side to side and top to bottom on your project. And push those firmly into place to make sure they are gripped nicely. And then your inner section should feed in nicely. And as long as you don't hit the end part, you'll have it in like that. And then obviously you can pull this in and out. I'm going to add some decoration onto the outside of here, and I was trying to decide which I would prefer, whether I wanted to use some gold or silver metallic pearls or some of the coloured dots, and I think I'm actually going to go with the gold and silver today. And I think silver is going to look best on this project. So again, I'm going to bring in my Take a Pick tool and pop some of these across the project. I think I'm actually going to go with 7. It's quite a big project today. I want to make sure I've got a good arrangement of decoration on here. It's always working with odd numbers and sort of rough triangles as well for the clusters of your decorations. Put one there. Okay, and that is our gift wallet finished. what would a gift wallet be without something to put in it? So what I've done is unfortunately not printed my own money, I wish, but I have printed out a approximate £20 note size, so you can see that this does fit that nicely, and then you just feed that into there, and that is your finished gift wallet. Now I have done a second one of these, like I said, with the other end of the glimmer paper, so this uses sort of more of the green and blue sides, slightly different ribbon, and I use some of the sequins for all seasons on here as well. And in this one I've actually put a £5 note, and again this is approximately the same size as a £5 note, so you can see they will fit all denominations of UK banknotes in here as well. So there we go, nice simple Saturday project for you today. I really hope you have enjoyed this one, and thank you for joining me in my craft room today. If you have enjoyed this project, please do give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, let me know you've watched and enjoyed and that it's something that you're going to have a go at. And consider subscribing to my channel if this is something that you've enjoyed. I post regular videos and projects on here, and you'll then get notified every time a new video goes live. All of the products that I've used in this project today are available directly through my store with Stampin Up, and there will be a link directly to that in the description box below for you. If you are based in the UK and you don't currently have a Stampin Up demonstrator and you'd like a copy of our current printed catalogues, there is also a link in the description box to the web form directly on my website where you can request a copy, and I'll get those straight out into the post for you so you can enjoy looking through them over a nice cup of tea. If you have any questions or comments about any of the products that I've used or the project itself, please do pop them into the comments box below. I'd be happy to help you out. Thank you again for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.